In the ancient Vietnamese city of Hue, once peaceful, once full of temples, schools, families, and history, a storm was about to fall. On January 31st, 1968, as the Tet holiday began, thousands of North Vietnamese and Viet Cong troops launched a massive surprise attack across the country. The Tet Offensive had begun, and Hue, the old imperial capital, became one of its most violent battlegrounds. Into this chaos stepped a 21-year-old Marine from Texas. His name was Alfredo Cantu Gonzalez. To his friends, he was Freddy. To the men he fought beside, he would become a legend. This is the true story of the Marine who saved his entire platoon and gave his life doing it. Freddy Gonzalez grew up in the small town of Edinburgh, Texas. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, but everyone who knew him said he had a strong heart. When he joined the Marine Corps at 18, he didn't hesitate. He wanted to serve. He wanted to protect the country he loved. Freddy completed one full tour in Vietnam and survived battles that many never returned from. But when he rotated back to the United States, he heard something that changed everything. His old platoon, the men he cared about, were back in Vietnam, and they were taking heavy casualties. Freddy could have stayed home. He could have lived a normal life, but that wasn't who he was. He volunteered to return, not for glory, not for medals, but for his brothers. On the morning of January 31st, 1968, Freddy and his Marines traveled in a convoy heading toward Hue. They expected resistance, but what hit them was a nightmare. Without warning, enemy rockets slammed into the convoy. Machine gun fire poured down from hidden positions. Marines shouted, chaos erupted, and within seconds, the road turned into hell. Freddy was wounded almost immediately. Shrapnel ripped into his body, but instead of lying down, he got back up. Ignoring his own injuries, he moved from Marine to Marine, pulling wounded men out of exploding vehicles, dragging them to safety through the mud and the smoke. Then he saw it, a fortified enemy bunker with a machine gun that was tearing the platoon apart. Everyone was pinned, and if that bunker stayed alive, none of them would make it out. Freddy didn't wait for orders. He didn't hesitate. He charged the bunker alone, grenades in his hands, sprinting through open fire. He threw his grenades with deadly accuracy, blowing the bunker apart and silencing the machine gun. That act alone saved the platoon. But the real battle, the Battle of Hue, was only beginning. When Freddy and his men reached Hue, they walked into a war zone unlike anything they had ever seen. The city was soaked in monsoon rain. Smoke drifted between shattered buildings. Snipers fired from windows. Booby traps hid in alleys. The streets were filled with enemy troops, thousands of them. It was urban warfare at its most brutal. But Freddy Gonzalez didn't fall back. He walked at the very front of his platoon. He pointed the way. He cleared the path. He told his Marines, "Stay close, follow me." And they did, because they trusted him with their lives. For hours, they fought house to house, room to room. Sometimes the enemy was only a few feet away, separated by nothing but a thin wall. Bullets punched through doors and windows. Explosions shook the ancient streets. But Freddy kept moving. On February 3rd, the Marines were hit by a far deadlier threat. A hidden rocket position with a clear line on the platoon. The rockets tore into the Marines' cover. Every blast sent men flying. The platoon was seconds away from being wiped out completely. Freddy saw what was happening. He grabbed an anti-tank rocket launcher and sprinted straight into open ground, fully exposed. Everyone watching believed he would be killed instantly. But Freddy kept running. He fired one rocket, a direct hit. He fired a second, another hit. He fired a third, destroying the last of the enemy's position. The ambush was broken. The platoon was saved. Again. But Freddy was hit a second time. More shrapnel. More bleeding. More pain. He refused treatment. He refused evacuation. He kept fighting. February 4th, 1968. The Marines pushed toward the St. Joan of Arc Catholic Church, a heavy enemy stronghold inside the city. By now, Freddy's uniform was soaked with blood. He was weak, barely standing, but he would not leave his platoon. Inside the courtyard, Enemy fire erupted in every direction. Marines took cover behind broken stone walls and shattered pillars. Several were hit instantly. Freddy stood in the open, pointing, signaling, directing fire. Even as bullets cracked around him, he continued to lead. Then it happened. Freddy was struck by enemy fire. He fell to the ground, badly wounded. But even then, with his strength fading, he gave one last order. One final act of leadership. One final protection for his men. He signaled for them to stay down, to move carefully, to hold the position. And then, in the center of the ancient church, Alfredo Freddy Cantu Gonzalez took his final breath. The Battle of Huế would become one of the costliest battles of the entire Vietnam War. But Freddy's platoon, the men he led, the men he loved, survived because of him. For his extraordinary bravery from January 31st to February 4th, 1968, Alfredo Gonzalez was awarded the Medal of Honor. A U.S. Navy destroyer was named after him, USS Gonzalez, DDG-66. His hometown built a memorial. Veterans still visit it today, and every Marine who hears his story knows the truth. Freddy Gonzalez didn't just fight. He didn't just lead. He didn't just sacrifice. He saved an entire platoon. Freddy Gonzalez was only 21 years old, barely a man, but in just 4 days, he showed courage beyond human measure. He stood between life and death, not for himself but for others. He walked into the line of fire over and over again. He fought until he had nothing left to give. This is what a hero looks like. Remember his name. Remember his sacrifice. Remember the Marine who saved his whole platoon at Huế. Alfredo Cantu Gonzalez. A warrior, a leader, a brother, a hero.